Hello guys, and welcome back for another update. Today we'll be dealing with Temperance. So as you can imagine, being a boss fight, it's a pretty short update unfortunately. But I'm slowly churning them out. We're doing something different with the commentary for this one. I'm not going to be talking about the combat because frankly it's the same as the combat would be if it was in normal for Jean. So nothing very different there. No, instead of talking about the combat, I'm going to be talking about Temperance and the infernal demon that we meet in this chapter, Hecatoncheires. So instead of doing the boss fight and an info video, I'm just going to be putting it into one thing. Before I get started though, you'll see that Jean's hair is glowing, which means that I'm using a lollipop. Now if you remember from my lollipop talk in the Fortitudo video, every boss fight, save for Balder and Jubileus, will have a lollipop that you can manipulate and get the effect of during the first half minute of the fight. So in this case, her hair is glowing red, it's a slight tinge of red, which means I'm using a red lollipop, or the Bloody Moon lollipop I think it's called. And basically the effect of that is it will increase your attack power. But as you can see, it doesn't really make much of a difference on non-stop with electrical dagger in your hands. But it's shown off, so there you go. Now Temperance is defined as moderation in action, thought or feeling. It is control over excess, so it can manifest itself in many different ways, such as abstinence, modesty, humility, self-regulation and mercy, each of these involving restraining some impulse such as sexual desire, vanity or anger. Temperance, as its Catholic encyclopedia notes, is concerned with what is difficult for a man, not insofar as he is a rational being precisely, but rather insofar as he is an animal. So basically, guys, we're all animals and we can't control our impulses, which is why we need these virtues. In this sense, as Father John A. Hardon, I kid you not his last name is Hardon, unless I'm pronouncing it funny, from the Society of Jesus, notes in his Modern Catholic Dictionary, it corresponds to fortitude, which restrains our fears, physical as well as spiritual. Temperance is primarily concerned with the restricting of the desire of the flesh. Quote, "The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Mark 14:38. But when it manifests itself as modesty, it can also restrain the desires of the spirit, such as pride. In all cases, the practice of temperance requires the balancing of legitimate goods against an inordinate desire for them. I'll take a break here from all this just to mention that in this bit here, when he only has one hand, when he shoots those eye lasers here, you can parry them, and if you're behind his thumb, on the right there, the parried lasers will go into his thumb and you can get damage for them. But for some reason, you can't really place yourself behind the thumb after he's put his thumb down. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but it seems to be very finicky. Anyway, getting back to Temperance. Thomas Aquinas ranked Temperance as the fourth of the cardinal virtues because it serves prudence, justice and fortitude. The moderation of our own desires is essential to acting rightly, prudence, giving each man his due, justice, and standing strong in the face of adversity, fortitude. Temperance is that virtue which attempts to overcome the human condition, and is the balance of legitimate goods against an unnatural desire or obsession for them. When we practice the virtue of temperance, we call it by different names, depending on the physical desire that we are restraining. The desire for food is natural and good, but when we develop an inordinate desire for food, we call that the vice of gluttony. Likewise, the inordinate indulgence in wine or other alcoholic drinks is called drunkenness, and both gluttony and drunkenness are combated by abstinence, which is a temperance applied to our desire for food and drink. Similarly, we receive pleasure from sexual intercourse, but the desire for that pleasure outside of its proper bounds, that is to say outside of marriage or even inside marriage, when we are not open to the possibility of procreation, is called lust. The practice of temperance regarding sexual pleasure is called chastity. Alright, now that we've torn these guys' arms off, we can get to the meat of the major difference between normal and hard and non-stop. On normal, which was a good couple of years ago now, there were only 3 cores on his skirt, I guess you could call it. But on hard and non-stop he has 5. Not really that big of a difference, just there's more of them to around. And if you're not really used to where these are placed, I guess it's a bit difficult. It's very important here that you don't let your combo break. Well, I wouldn't say it's very important, but if you want to get a good combo point, combo rank, then you want to keep your combo going. But as I have mentioned previously, and I will mention again, Electric Durga for bosses is the best kind of thing to get good combo points. And also if you combine it correctly with Gaze of Despair and Bracelet of Time, you will get crazy combo points, and that's how most people tend to grind for Halos. Temperance, when represented in art, is represented by the wheel, bridle and reins, vegetables and fish, cup, water and 1 and 2 jugs. Temperance is also the 14th trump or major arcana card in most traditional tarot decks. Now, getting to Hecatoncheires, whose arms we've been summoning this entire fight, the in-game description is a giant endowed with 6 fearsome arms, capable of pulverizing mountains. Those unfortunate enough to fall underfoot of the demon are subject to days-long violent earthquakes. Lacking knowledge but brimming with brutality, it is said that even the most powerful of conjurers should take heed of the danger this beast presents. Oh yes, I'm going to use Bracelet of Time here because why not? I don't think you guys would begrudge me a little bit of witch time in this. Anyway, Hecatoncheires, which is how you're supposed to pronounce it, I believe, is also known as the 100-handed ones, are the 3 many-limbed giants of archaic Greek mythology. They possess incredible strength, surpassing the combined might of all the titans, the name given to the offspring of the earth and the sky. Their name is derived from the Greek words hecaton, meaning 100, and kyr, meaning hand, each of the giants having 100 hands and 50 heads. In the Olympian creation myth as told by Hesiod in the Theogony, Uranus the sky comes every night to cover the earth and mate with Gaia, the earth. The names of the 3 Hecatoncheires were Briareus, the vigorous, Cottus the striker, or the furious, and Gygus or Gaius the big-limbed. If some natural phenomena are to be symbolized by the Hecatoncheires, then they may well represent the gigantic forces of nature that appear in earthquakes and other convulsions, or in the motions of the sea, which is referenced by the in-game description. Their brothers were the Cyclops, crafters of the thunder and lightning for Zeus. 6 brothers were connected with the stormy season in Greece, which followed the rise of the constellation Alta in November. As soon as the 6 gigantic storm brothers were born, their father bound them in the pit of Tartarus, in fear of their power. In some versions of the story, Uranus saw how ugly his children were at their birth and pushed them back into Gaia's womb, basically deep within the earth, upsetting her greatly and causing her great pain. This action set into motion the overthrow of Uranus by Cronus, the youngest of Uranus' children, who later imprisoned the Hecatoncheires in Tartarus. The Hecatoncheires remained in Tartarus guarded by the Gant dragon Campe until they were released by Zeus. Zeus later released them from this prison in his war against his father Cronus, who, after throwing Uranus, also became fearful of his children's powers and swallowed them whole after they were born. During the War of the Titans, the Hecatoncheires threw rocks as big as mountains, 100 at a time, at the Titans, overwhelming them. After the war, Cottus and Gaius were given palaces in the river Okeanos, and Briareus a home in the depths of the Aegean Sea. Together they functioned as doorkeepers for the storms of Tartarus, releasing them at the command of the gods. And with that, that marks the end of our boss fight. So as you can see, using Gaze of Despair and Electric Dagger gives us just a little less than 3 million. Which I thought was pretty good until I checked the online leaderboards. Which, I don't know how people get them, but some chapters have people with scores of over 1 billion. So there's that. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Next up we have Route 666, which is going to be a pain. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.